If you're new to this channel, you like what you see today, please hit the subscribe button, the like button. That'll really help us make some more videos in the future. And just remember, guys, that anything I'm showing you today does not constitute any trading advice, but just reflects my own views and opinions. All right. Before I get started, we're going to look at the dollar index today, AUD, NZD, and the US dollar Swiss franc. Before we look at that, I also got a really cool feature that we've been working on that I'm going to be showing afterwards. I will take some questions as well, and then when I show you this new toolbox, what we call it, the market geometry toolbox that we developed for other major platforms, then you can ask me any questions you want about that as well. I'll be giving a little bit of a demo after we go through these three markets. All right, so let's get started. As always, guys, the dollar index, like watching this, especially if you like trading US dollar related currency pairs. If you've been watching my channel before, I'm still under the assumption that what we have is a corrective pattern that started in January. A corrective pattern that, in my opinion, is not over yet. Now, if we quickly have a look back at price moving into this year's low, everyone sort of thought the dollar is dead. It took quite a beating, moving low since March last year. March last year on the 20th, we had major reversals in many currency pairs, not just the dollar related pairs. Price moved lower, and I'm of the opinion that we are still correcting. I don't think we are actually heading higher and that we bottomed yet. I think all of this is still a correction. And still, for me, the corrective pattern that I believe is still incompleted here is an ABC, what we call a WXY. It's basically two zigzag patterns connected by WX axis. And it's called a WXY pattern for those that are familiar with Elliott wave analysis. So, since we started these live sessions, I had this red box. Price reached it and reversed lows. Typically what I'll do with my members as well. We define these areas using market geometry and specifically, in most cases, pitchforks. We use different pitchfork settings as well. It really just depends which setting we use, normally determined by looking at how price action reacted in the past with these pitchfork settings. And currently I have a modified shift pitchfork here, which has been working really, really well. That being said, I'm in two minds whether the modified or the shift pitchfork's working better. Look at this high we had on the 20th August. We reached that upper median line perfectly, and then price came lower. So this is typically what I'll do is create a zone that incorporates two settings. It's perfectly fine with this type of analysis not to be 100% sure which setting to use, as long as you kind of create an area where you'll see some conditions appear. In our case, we like to see momentum divergence. I'm going to be talking about momentum divergence just after a few of these examples. And also reversal candlestick patterns to confirm that a move might reverse, or let's say a price might reverse from an area. So you don't just want to be too predictive, although we are pretty good at predicting where price might gravitate to, where price might reverse from, but you also need to wait for price to be reactive from an area before you actually attempt to enter a position. All right, but long story short, I still think that this A is either completed, and we're still coming down in a B. Last week and a week before, I was saying I'm still expecting price to move higher. I'm pretty sure that there are going to be quite a few traders that's seeing this pattern unfold, which is a potential head and shoulders. If price fails at this area, and it is actually heading higher at the moment, that we could see a move lower. And when price breaks the neckline, we're probably going to see a short-term sell-off, but I think it's just going to be a bearish trap, and we're going to see another move to the upside. So price could very well negate that. This is just obviously assuming that that could happen. I just know that a lot of traders love watching head and shoulder type patterns, and yeah, so I'm pretty aware of what they are looking at, and it might very well turn out to be correct. But whatever the case be, I don't think we're done going up. But over the near term, let's talk about the near term. I think we could probably go up for a few more days. If we fail here, I'm still probably seeing this as an ABC for the B wave of the second ABC, and then probably make landfall towards the end of this month, beginning of October, and then head higher. And at that stage, people are going to think, great, the dollar is going up again, and this would, in my opinion, be the end of that C wave. For me, this is just too overlapping to basically be a start of an uptrend. This will obviously influence gold, silver, and so forth, all the markets that obviously rely on the dollar's strength or not. Now guys, these lines that I've drawn here, it's not just basically lines I just drew and thumb sucked. And this is something I'm going to be talking about in some of our upcoming sessions. And we're going to really start bringing the timing element into trading, something I've been interested in for a very long time, private work that I do with myself, obviously. And our timing can also, slot in with market geometry extremely well, if you obviously know what you're doing. And there's going to be different techniques that I'm going to start showing off. So these sort of lines are sort of obviously forecastable or predictive in nature, not just because I drew them. It's not just a probable path, but they also rely on certain timing work that I've done. And I'll start slowly showing you guys that in some of the future sessions. Right, we might as well also have this A wave extending much higher than this one. That's perfectly fine. This tends to happen. And price reach another high and then move lower before we get the B wave. So I'm a bit on the sidelines here, especially a lot of the US dollar cross currency pairs, except for the US dollar Swiss franc, which I'm going to be showing you in just a moment, because I'm just going to expect a lot of seesaw. And we can see this already happening in gold. It's just there's no clear direction. And I think we're going to continuously see a lot of frustration in the markets. Until about the end of this year. There's a timeline. Before we get to the end of the year, I'm going to start showing you this timing stuff that I've been working on, and how a lot of these markets are correlating towards a time window to by the end of this year, where I think we're going to see major reversals in many markets. So yeah, hopefully you guys just please subscribe to this channel, and if the sort of timing aspect is something that you're interested, then please come back next time when we have our sessions. I'll probably slowly start introducing it towards the end of, I would say maybe end of this month towards the beginning of next month. All right. So that's my view. I think we're in incomplete seconds zigzag on the dollar index with a probable high then, and this could be anywhere. This could be much higher and actually at the center median line of this long-term pitchfork. Whatever the case might be, if we do get a move lower, a failure to go to new lows, and we get another move to the upside, then I'll be able to use market geometry again to identify a probable or a reversal zone, and then see if we can trade that. All right, so that's it for the dollar index. Let me just save that quickly. AUD NZD. I can't remember if I talked about the AUD NZD last week or the week before. I think I talked about the AUD Japanese yen. But in any case, been watching a zone here with my members at Price Action Income. Price has finally got into an area where I'm interested in taking a potential long trade here. Now, when I'm saying potential long trade, I am thinking, especially after a strong decline like this, that we probably get a decent bounce. I'm not saying that we actually going to reverse higher and retrace this massive move lower. And I just quickly want to zoom out and show you guys something with how I typically draw market geometry. This is a very crazy way to draw a pitchfork, and there will be a lot of people telling you, yeah, you need to follow certain guidelines, and yes, that does ring true. but it's also an extremely visible tool. You need to, what I call, find the operating angle of a market. And to do that, you really need to play around with different settings. Now, this setting I've only got, well, I won't say I got, but I played around with it for probably a week or two, and found that using this, what we call a lower low, lower high in April 2018, this is obviously going back a couple of years, to this low on the 20th of March. Here's that good instance again where we had a 20th March window, we had massive moves, same that we've seen on the dollar index when it came down to this high in, when was it, 19th of August 2020. Drawing a standard pitchfork gave us this low over here, and this is what I mean by visual tool. We had supported the center median line, price moved up, resistance at upper median line, and look where price is now pulled back to, right down back to this median line again. So this could be a very strong area of support for the time being, and I'm expecting a bounce here. So this zone that I have here was actually drawn before time. I actually had it higher up, I'll be dead honest about that, but price failed. We didn't get our entry conditions to fire off or pop up, and I drew this zone, and this was after I played around with those settings. Now, just quickly out of an educational perspective, how do you know that a trend is actually, or I won't say a trend, a pitchfork that you drew is the right setting to use? And what I'll typically do is look at the upper 50, in this case because price is in the upper half of this pitchfork, look at that 50% dashed median line, which basically just dissects the center median line and the upper median line in half, like exactly 50%, and running at the same parallel angle. And we can see on many occasions support there, resistance, resistance, up, support, broke down, up, support, support, broke down, and resistance again. Now that's a very, very good indication that we're using the right pitchfork. Now you can even go a little bit further, and I just want to get out my, where is it now? My channel, and I want to run a channel backwards. Again, guys, advanced techniques here. We had instances here where price couldn't stay above it. It tells me that this 50% dash median line is still working well. We had resistance over there, resistance over here, way back in time. So, you know, once you see this, you can pretty much say, and especially because it's on a longer time frame, that you are dealing with the right, what we call, operating angle or slope of a market. Here it doesn't work that great, but you can probably say support over here. We had a little bit of support over there, but especially in the upper half of this pitchfork, you know, price has been really respecting that angle of support and resistance. So if you're dealing with market geometry, and predominantly of the cases we don't really deal with horizontal support and resistance like you probably mostly taught, I'm more interested in angular support and resistance, which in my opinion much stronger than horizontal support and resistance. Okay, so we're in this area now, we just touched down, and now we are bouncing to the upside. And this is quickly where I want to talk about, I don't think I've shared this with you guys because you're not probably members of my EPS service, but I would like to drill down to a smaller time frame when price actually reaches an area, and we very simply want to spot momentum divergence on a MACD histogram. We are actually using a bit more sophisticated indicators that I cannot show you guys here if you're not a member, but very similar things, and it's just a very simple indicator. It's a well-known indicator to use, the MACD, and basically all I want to see is price or momentum of price slowing down into an area. So we had a bit of slowdown over there, i.e. price starts moving low with a lot of momentum, and as it gets into this area we've been watching or been waiting for, the momentum is actually slowing down. And even between this previous low, we almost thought this might have been a low on the 14th of September, and the current low, we have very strong momentum divergence, i.e. momentum slowing down while price is actually moving lower. So pretty much all the conditions there to potentially take a trade. Again, guys, this does not constitute any trading advice. You obviously need to practice proper risk and reward methods, and obviously keep your reward and risk ratio in check properly. So that's what I have on the AUD NZD. Okay. Let me just move this lower a little bit. And on the US dollar Swiss franc. I think I need to go out on a daily here again. Show you my current idea that we have at the moment. Yeah, I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't know why that line's there. Okay. Yeah, we have a similar thing where I drew a very long-term standard pitchfork. This was. Let's see if it was on a week. Similar to what I've done on the AUD NZD. Yeah, that's the one. And here we have another occasion where price has really respected the upper half of this angular support and resistance by just using the anchor point on the 16th of December to this low on the 12th of Feb, and this is not a weekly, so it's that week of Feb somewhere, and to this actually lower high on the 22nd or towards the end of April 2019. Standard pitchfork. Resistance, resistance, support, 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 and support again at the lower median line, support again. Here we had what we call a underthrow before we got a move to the upside. And another thing I like doing is to run a line parallel to this angle, and if you were to just use this technique and you look back even on this underthrow, and this is a tip, guys, if you see underthrows you think you got the right angle on your pitchfork or right setting, run a ray backwards, and we got low here, support there. Okay, we can't really say anything here, but we had it at a handle there. On the handle of the shift pitchfork we had resistance. We obviously, you can't say this was resistance after the fact, but this is just a good way to see if the long-term pitchfork that you're using is actually correct. And look at these little tops that we had, 1, 2, 3 failures to basic breakthrough. So it's telling me that we have the right pitchfork setting here. Even to these lower highs over there, we had this lower high over here, and price now approaching that line again. And guys, you might be thinking, who on earth is going to trade from a weekly time frame? But in my opinion, if you know where these lines are, they will continuously work into the future for the longest period of time. So even if you were trading this since 2019 and you used this pitchfork and you traded this, you could have traded that, you could have traded this. Obviously, you need a strategy to do this, which is what we have at Price Action and Income. These pitchforks will work for a very long period of time, and that's why I like performing this on higher time frames, because I want to know where these lines are. All right, so, and this is an instance now where I think we are heading higher on a US dollar Swiss franc, and obviously the dollar index is now actually moving higher as well, in line with my expectation over the short term. I think we're still going to go down for that B wave, remember, on the dollar index, and then probably a high towards the end of the year. So in this occasion, and this is also something typically I do with my strategy, I want to run a pitchfork, in the majority of cases a shift pitchfork, thinking that if I'm dealing with a correction, that price is heading high, you want to track the correction with, in many cases, a shift pitchfork. Let's just go back to a daily here. Go, just open that up, and where you then have a confluence area of the long-term pitchfork sloping downwards. That's still, I believe, the operating slope or angle of this market, and then believing that you might have what we call an inside return to this upper median line where you have a cross of these two. If price blasts through here, that's absolutely fine. And this is typically how we'll just do a resistance zone, and I believe we have a resistance zone between 0.9350 to 0.9390, and a potentially A, B, where we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. We had an A, B, C to the downside. I don't know why that's there. Let's get rid of that. And then here we had a potential 1, and this was a triangle, in my opinion, A, B, C, D, E. Actually, that shouldn't be from there. So this could have been a 1, and a completion of a triangle is actually the 2. And now either leading diagonal up, whatever the case might be. You know, you can really confuse yourself to your wit's end if you continuously watch or trying to figure out what Elliott wave, which the correct count is in an Elliott wave. This is why I applied what I call loosely. And it's a broad term to use, maybe a dangerous one. But in many cases, we use pitchforks to guide us into an area. And this is exactly what I've done here. I want to see a confluence. I want to see price reach an area where there's a confluence of different angled pitchforks. One of a shorter term, sloping in the direction of what could be a correction. And obviously the one that I still think is defining this downward trend. In this case too, I'm also just going to take short-term trades. If we do get here, again, I want to see momentum divergence, most likely on a 4-hour chart, which is my favorite ones to do setups on. At the moment, we're just blasting up with a lot of momentum. So you want to see price move up, and we're probably going to do this. Most likely, we do hit that ray that I've drawn in parallel with that upper median line. You could see a move to the downside. We also had a 0.618 FIB retracement from this high in April. This is obviously the downward move prior to this move to the upside. Price failed there before. So here again, lots of momentum going into that high. And if we do get a move lower, I want to see a slow move to the upside, probably towards the end of this month. I would say end of the month, probably 22nd of September, maybe even later. This is where they cross, and it could be early or late, it doesn't matter, as long as I see price enter there and I see a slowdown in momentum into that area and some sort of reversal candlestick pattern. Then in many cases I will take a trade, in this case with a short bias to the downside. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it there for our market analysis for today. I'm sure you guys that are here today probably have some questions to ask, anything relating to market geometry, or maybe you want me to have a look at some of your charts. If I do have data for that is, and then I'll take a few questions quick, and then I want to head on over to our new and updated market geometry toolbox. We'll go on a little bit longer today because I really want to show you what we've been working on for quite a while with market geometry tools on different platforms. All right, Ian's asking price action income weekly meet $ZIL for Binance. Let's have a look. He sent me a link here. Ian, is this a crypto? Zalika, US dollar. All right, let's have a look. And he's using US dollar, USD. Oops. On Binance, guys, I just want to open that same image he's got. So guys, if you don't know what I'm doing on the other screen, I have multiple screens. This is the question he sent me, probably asking me to have a look of for where things might be standing with this crypto, I presume it is. Okay. He's looking at Binance on the US dollar. I'm sure we can just look at US dollar tether. Probably going to get the same sort of chart, I believe. Let's go 0.11. Yeah, it's the same chart. Open that up. Let's just get rid of that MACD for the time being, and he's looking at it on a weekly time frame. Sorry, a daily time frame. Am I on the right track here? All right. Before I look at his chart again, guys, I got it open over here. He's been marking this move to the upside as a potential impulsive completion of first wave in 5 minor, or let's say intermediate waves to the upside. A potential ABC expanded flat. If that is the case, then price could be heading higher now. Let's quickly have a look. And this is from Ian. Ian, sometimes, you know, with these cryptos, they can be difficult to use market geometry on because they were so dormant for such a long period of time, especially altcoins, and then you have these explosive moves. So in some instances, it could be difficult to figure out or use market geometry on them. But in any case, if you use smaller time frames, you'll probably get better sort of views of things. Yeah. Wow. It's just a, what's this? Shift pitchfork. Guys, always start with the 3 most predominant swings prior to a strong move. And this can obviously see this is a strong move to the downside. I would prefer to obviously have a pitchfork that slopes in the direction of this downward move. In this case it didn't, but you could probably visually see we had support over here, we had resistance over here. Let's quickly go to a modified, an original. Yeah, so that angle and slope of this original is just way too strong. Keep in mind that we had that resistance already now if we drew that other pitchfork. If you use 3 anchor points prior to this move to the upside, let's see if that works. Sorry. Whoops. And let's go there. Yep. And this is similar to what I've done on Bitcoin. I mean, a lot of these charts actually look the same, except Ethereum's chart structure is a little bit different than Bitcoin at the moment. But you know, so everyone's still following Bitcoin, especially price structure wise, except for what I'm seeing there's a big disconnect between Ethereum and Bitcoin at the moment. Not that, you know, price doesn't follow what Bitcoin's doing, but just from a price structure perspective. So this is probably what I'll be looking at. 3 anchor points prior to this move to the upside. We had support recently over here, resistance at the center median line, break, support, upper 50, upper 50, upper 50, breakdown, lower median line, and now we're heading higher again. And you actually zoomed into this area here. So we're talking about this move to the upside, I believe. Whoops, I don't know what's happening there. Is this... Hang on, let's just see. Just tell me if I'm on the right track here. So this is in April 2020. Goodness gracious, let me just try to get my charts sorted out here. And you set to a daily. Am I even looking at the right thing here? It does look like it is. Oh, you're looking at log scale. No, market geometry works perfectly in log scale, especially when you're dealing with parabolic moves. I don't know, Ian, if you watched that previous video I did on the Dow Jones Industrial, where just a pitchfork using the, I think, 2009 lows after that housing crash in the US and projecting it upwards in this massive bull run. If you switch to log scale on that, then it works exceptionally well. I'm just trying to figure out where you're actually looking at this from on the 16th of March 2020. And that goes all the way back here. And you're looking log scale at that. I see what you're doing. All right. I see what you're doing. Let's have a look. Modified and shift. Yeah, you know, Ian, I think you've done a really good job there to count what this is. If we were to take, and I don't think it's going to work with fib extensions because we're on log scale. Yeah, it's not going to work there. It's you calling this. Let's label this A1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could definitely be a case. 3, 4, and 5. That's definitely possible. Although be careful, one thing that I have to say that you've now got a potential expanded flat here, right? So an expanded flat, in my opinion, won't just come from a fifth wave, if this was your fifth wave high. Oh, but you do have it right. There we go. No, pardon me. So if that's your fifth wave high, then we could definitely have an ABC to the downside. Let's have a look at our pitchforks again. This was an A, and I like to use a standard pitchfork with. Now if we had to go out of log scale onto auto, caught this low here, which was almost the actual low. The actual low came in later at the center median line. Yeah, and I can't spend too much time on this, to be honest with you, but just looking at what's currently happening, we are riding, or we are respecting upward sloping standard pitchfork. So if this was an ABC according to you, expanded flat, then obviously this should have terminated now, and we're going to have to go higher, because otherwise this won't be a correction. You know, it could be an ABC, maybe this is a 1 and this was a 2, and now we're going in a massive third wave. That's also very, very, very possible. All right, Ian, hopefully that helped you out a little bit, but I do think you're on the right way path there. Do we have any other questions before I jump into the toolbox that I want to show you guys? Nathan, if you did, just let me know. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right, let's jump into that. Guys, I, for a very long time, and I still like trading my futures on NinjaTrader. Now what you'll see here is what we've created at Price Action Income with our software developers, and we call it the Market Geometry Toolbox. It's a floating toolbox, as we call it, so you can drag around charts, so you know it doesn't obscure your view or get in the way of your price action. Now I'm going to show you NinjaTrader, but how this actually all came about, and we've been working on this for, I think, since the beginning of this year, Nathan, if that is that we have a lot of members at Price Action Income that came back to us and said, guys, you know, Richard does all his geometry and stuff on TradingView, which is still one of my favorite platforms to especially perform market geometry on, just because it's so user friendly. but I have to obviously understand that there's a lot of members that do not use TradingView. Traders are strange creatures, if I can say it that way, because they are quite dedicated to their trading platforms, and that's perfectly fine. So we had a tremendous amount of people coming back to us and giving us feedback and saying that, it's all good and well that you're showing stuff in TradingView, but MetaTrader, for example, doesn't even have a shift pitchfork, for example. They'll have the standard run-of-the-mill standard pitchforks, or the Alan Andrews pitchfork, whatever your platform might call it. So, that's a problem we had to address. There's one thing, obviously, just, having people follow my analysis, but, there are a lot of people who want to learn as well and use market geometry to perform their own analysis on their own platform. So we got in contact with our developers, and, we really had a good sit down with them and ask, can we at least create a shift pitchfork for MetaTrader, which in my opinion, I believe there are still... there are a few out there, but they're just very clunky or they don't work properly. So, although the standard pitchfork was there, if you follow me for the longest time now, then shift pitchforks are extremely important to me, because for me they work very well when dealing with corrections, especially single zigzags, double zigzags. I love using them during the small corrections within triangles, triangle corrections in the whole. So, and we've actually got to a working solution, and we've had this toolbox for a while now, but we've also been listening to a lot of feedback we've been getting from people. And although I'm showing you this on NinjaTrader, the actual look and feel of this toolbox is the same and with the same features in MetaTrader. So if you're a MetaTrader user, you love my market geometry techniques, but you do not really have access to these proper tools or the tool sets that I use to perform this analysis, then we're glad to say that we've come to a really, really good update recently. I'm going to go through all of these buttons and what they mean, and just keep in mind, although I'm showing this on NinjaTrader, that it's exactly the same on MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5. So if you're a user of those platforms, then this is definitely something you might want to have a look at. We're definitely running a special as well for this market geometry toolbox. I think Nathan dropped a link there in the chat box, so you guys can check it out. But before I demo this for you guys, or demonstrate it for you, just take note that we also included a lot of educational materials. So it's not just the toolbox that you get. We really got a really decent video series that we included there, so you guys can hit the ground running if this is sort of a technique that you would like to, explore a bit more on your own. All right, guys. So on NinjaTrader, you do have a Andrews pitchfork, you do have a shift, and you do have a modified. But to get to those, you really need to go and look for them. Also, you need to obviously go and change the settings. The settings, everything you're seeing here is according to my default settings and the way I like it. So if there's something that you want to get hold of and incorporate in your own trading, all of it's been pre-programmed to basically resemble my own pitchforks that I'm using in TradingView. We did include other features that is not included in NinjaTrader, and especially coming back and circling back to MetaTrader, a lot of these features are not at all available on MetaTrader. All right, so let's quickly look at what we have here. Again, guys, very similar look and feel to what's happening on the MetaTrader side of things. We got different color-coded, boxes here. Here we got, and if you hover it over it, it'll tell you exactly what it is you're picking. So let me just open this up so you can better see what's going on here. We got, for example, the Andrews Allen pitchfork, which will also be included in MetaTrader. And again, you just use 3 anchor points, and it draws your pitchfork. Left click, right click, and you can delete it. Then we have our shift pitchfork, and this I know is not on MetaTrader at all. And that also gives you, a different colored pitchfork. Again, guys, a lot of these things can be changed in the settings according to colors that you want. It's just now pre-programmed the way I like it. Don't know if you've seen this little bar that just flashed there. Or should I say an arrow that just flashed there. We also got programmable alerts that will fire off if price actually reaches one of these market geometry lines, which I think is a really cool additional feature there. Again, if you want to get rid of it, left click, right click and remove. And then we also have the modified shift pitchfork. And similar thing, it draws a modified shift pitchfork. Now guys, for you that don't know, very simple tool obviously to use in your arsenals. Also channels. Channels are the same than modified shift pitchforks, but only if you use the same anchor points than you drew your modified shift pitchfork with. I like to have this in there, the trend channel, just with a center, what we call a center channel line that's dotted or dashed as they call it. And I like to, rather than having all three different types of pitchforks on my chart, I like to, rather than using the modified shift pitchfork, I like to use a channel knowing that I'm using the same anchor points, just to visually differentiate between these settings. Right, again, this, for example, is nothing new, but I'm going to get to a very cool feature that we just recently included. And sorry, I'm just playing around here a little bit, seeing angles. This is what I do for a living. I see angles in everything. A very standard trend line, also very simple. But I guess although this might sound or look very simple, what is very cool here is that rather going into all the drawing tools all the time and clicking all over the place and going through the drop down menus and all that, it's all just available here. When you get very proficient at using market geometry, I like to do things fast. I don't want to be going through menus and scrolling and reading everything all the time. I want to familiarize myself with my toolbox, and I want to know exactly where all these lines are or these tools are. And then as normal, we have fib extensions as well, using the ratios or the percentages that I like: 100%, 138.2, 161.8, 178.6, 200. Again, here guys, you can add additional levels if you want to. You can either left click on it, right click, you can go to properties, and yeah, you can change everything. That's pretty standard for any sort of platform. Also, if you, sorry, I just want to get rid of that. If you right click and NinjaTrader and MetaTrader actually call the import of this tool an indicator, although it's actually drawing tools. So it's just how these platforms name these things. But when you do actually import this indicator or this toolbox, sorry, if you're interested in incorporating this on MetaTrader or NinjaTrader, by the way, we've got some really cool video tutorials and cool execution files to basically make it very easy to install as well. And that comes with the indicator. But the first time you install it, you basically install the indicator. It's called the Market Geometry Toolbox, and all of these settings can basically be manipulated from within the property section. And we also have alerts. You can NinjaTrader set the alert, different alert types that you want, etc., etc. You can also decide not to have alerts if you want to. So everything's fully customizable if you so wish to do so. Again, just fib retracements, very easy. 38.2, 50%, 61.8 golden ratio, 78.6, 100% retracement. All these settings set to my my default settings and the way I like to use things. Then we also incorporated the MACD. Remember I showed you the MACD just a little while ago. I like to spot momentum divergence on there. Just note that the one on MetaTrader looks a little bit slightly different, but got similar functionalities than the one I'm showing you. Again, if you want to get rid of this, you can either press a button again and it goes away. We also have these two functions where if you had multiple, let's say, lines on the chart, or market geometry, whatever the case might be. You can at any stage just click the H button to hide it and a show button to show it. And if you click hide, it will basically have these dots on, and that basically still tells you that you've got drawing objects still present on your chart. Okay. Also cool, like with many things, I don't know if this was actually a feature on MetaTrader before. It's always been a feature on NinjaTrader. So you can left click, Control C keyboard, Control V, or you can just right click and copy it, and you can move it around. Quite often I like doing that, because even if price leaves the boundaries of some of these pitchforks, it doesn't mean that those angles are useless anymore. For instance, price has just recently reached, and this is now on the ES, trading the December front month contract for this year, final one of this year. Price just reached this median or this angled support line. Whether it's going to go high or not, I'm not sure, but this is typically what I'll do when I double up or double down. Then what I want to spend a little bit of time on is this additional feature, and this is definitely not available on NinjaTrader unless there's some other people, third-party developers that have done this before. And as far as I know, it's definitely has not been available on MetaTrader, and this is Elliott wave labeling. And you'll basically click on this little icon there. It looks like a little graph, and what we got is all your ones, and that runs from 1 to 5s, and you can have your larger numbers, intermediate, minor, minute, minuet, and subminuet. If this is something that interests you, I do apply Elliott wave analysis, but predominantly over corrections. We have the same on your ABCs, and there's a WXY that we talked about on the dollar index when we first started today's session. So let's run through this quickly. Very cool. Let's say you want to count a trend. You're normally going to use numbers for trends. And let's say you want to count, you select a starting point. There will be a 0 point. It will make a 1. It will make a 2. Let's say you've done this, for example, 3, 4, although it's probably not the right way to do it, but I'm just showing you what we've done here. So rather than going, for example, in NinjaTrader, you'll have to go to the text section and each time go and put in a number there, which is extremely tedious. And this just really simplifies that that jobby for you. All right, and let's say we want to mark an ABC. Now we got an A, let's say there, a B there, and a C. And what this will do is, actually, before I do that, let me get rid of, I've got my snap mode on, which is the same as the magnet mode in TradingView, sorry. Let's say, for example, this was an expanded flat. All right, just for interest's sake. Oops. And we can go into and label that as a potential A, B, and a C. Now, if you double click, oops, I'm doing this wrong now again. There's a setting here in the indicator where you can click show alternative Elliott wave labeling types. You can hit that and you can go apply. Now, if I open this box again, you'll see that it actually gave us more labeling columns. And you know, if you've been working with corrections, let's say, for example, a triangle will have 5 waves and they use letters instead of numbers. So here we'll say if you want to work with triangles, you'll use it times 5. I hope you can see that. It's a bit small. I just love using black background because it's not as harsh on my eyes. But it will say double 5. It means if you do, let's say an A, B, C, D, E, it will stop labeling after 5 waves. And let's say that was a triangle and price continues higher. Okay. If you remove that and you go to the one with a 3, it will stop labeling at A, B, and C, if that makes sense. Now, this is just a little setting. If you want to not have that too many columns for you, You can go back to indicators. I can unclick that checkbox. I'll show alternative Elliott wave labeling, and you can alternatively just, and I know this happens in NinjaTrader, you can go A, B, and when you're done labeling, just double click and it will stop labeling for you instead of going all the way to E. So just a little setting that we put in there for you guys. So also just very interesting and a really, really cool addition. We're also working on a profit risk reward ratio, not an indicator, but a measurement tool as well that a lot of people have been requesting. We've done a soft launch on this indicator, or sorry, this toolbox a little while back. I think a couple of weeks back, is that right, Nathan? Yeah, and you know, we're continuously having feedback from a lot of members of what they want to have included. And we do listen to you guys, and we're continuously improving and updating this toolbox. So what you see here, if you do decide to actually get hold of this toolbox, whether it's for NinjaTrader or MetaTrader, all future additions, or let's say new features that we want to build in there, will be also available at no extra charge. So that's really cool to know. I really love this new feature, especially on the Elliott wave counting sort of style of things, and you know, it really does help a lot with, how can I say, streamlining your market geometry and the time it takes to actually perform this type of analysis. And guys, that's like really as simple as it gets, but believe me, if you use this, it does save a lot of time. So if you're interested in this toolbox, again, if you're MetaTrader 4 or 5 user or NinjaTrader, but for NinjaTrader it's only available for NinjaTrader 8, then go have a look at that link below. And like I mentioned before, it's not just a toolbox that comes with this. We have a tremendous amount of educational value that go with it as well, because you know, sometimes you can just have a tool and not know how to use it. I mean, I'm trying to also show you guys, and this is included with the toolbox, how to actually perform market geometry in a systematic way that you can break down, that makes sense for you, rather than just trying to draw lines all over the place and not really knowing what you're doing. Right, guys, that's it for me actually. How are we doing with time here? Yeah, we've almost gone an hour already. Whoa, time flies, especially when I talk so much. Guys, so I really hope you enjoyed today's session. If there are any more questions, I will definitely take some more questions. If you have some to throw my way, Nathan. Again, guys, if this is a type of stuff you like using, or you're new to market geometry, you want to start exploring this a bit more, then please go check out that toolbox. If you're not using TradingView and you're using MetaTrader, like I know a lot of people still do, then yeah, then that's definitely for you. We decided to basically develop that for you guys. All right, guys, I'm available for a few more minutes, so if you have anything else to ask me, then please do. Nathan, you there? Any more questions? Otherwise, I'll just stop it for today, and I'll be back next week again. Look at some more markets. I see Nathan is chatting there. Let's have a look. All right, guys, there's no more questions coming through, but actually I think someone's been asking about the trade forecasts that we do. Let me quickly bring that up. First I have to log in on my end. I'll show you what the members section looks like on the EPS, what we call the Exponential Profit System forecasting service that we have. And I'll quickly run through what I do over there. It's got to log into, I've got access to the back end, and obviously I update every day's report. I'll be talking about that just in a while. Just want to bring up the members section, so you can see what we're talking about here. And to answer that gentleman's question about the forecast service. Sorry, it's just loading a little bit. I didn't have that open yet, so just hang on 1 second. Right. There we go. Okay. Guys, so the EPS forecast service is a, how can I say, a forecasting service, as the name suggests. But it's also, we could probably say it's sort of a newsletter where on 5 days a week I release every morning my time in South Africa, which is really good for people, especially in the US, and also other people across the world. I normally get in the office pretty early. And I write a report 5 times a week. And generally on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, I will release new trade ideas that I'm stalking. And we just started doing this at the beginning of this year. Not this year that we started this. We actually started this whole forecast service in 2018 already. So we've been running already for quite a long time with extremely good track record. I now do what is new, a video review where I go through all the markets we're currently following, and basically do a little write-up underneath. Are there any new ideas that I'm looking at? And you're actually looking now at the end of what the members will see. So on the left-hand panel, the navigation panel here, we have all the months going from the most recent, obviously, to the beginning of the month, and all our historical reports going back all the way to July 2018. Guys, I've got nothing to hide or sugarcoat when I trade or release these things. All of this is logged in our performance log that we also have. We also have a private Telegram channel. We're actually going to change that around a little bit and get our own sort of software to do this, but quite often when you do get a setup, for example, if I want to manage my positions, trail a stop, get out of a trade, or whatever it is I might want to do, all my members are active on Telegram. We have a specific Telegram channel only for this service, so I could blast on my phone wherever I might be, any time of the day, a trade alert or trade management alert, or whatever the case might be, just to, you know, on the go, get hold of everyone if I decide to make any changes to a trade. We also have a lot of resources that we've built in here, trade execution procedures, you know, everything that I follow according to the strategy that I employ. And the strategy that I employ is based on my exponential profit service systems course that initially we launched in 2018 as well. So I'm using a lot of those basic techniques in there to, you know, over and over and over on any market that I want to follow. We kind of like to do stocks, forex, commodities. I mean, we trade all markets. Try to get a good blend out there, because I know a lot of traders, you know, don't trade all markets. So they at least have something new or you know, some new trade ideas for the majority of our members. All right, and then we also do a monthly Q&A session, which is similar to these live events, but it's only for my members. And we typically have that on the second Thursday of every month. And what we do there is to, you know, have a session, hand it over to our members, ask anything about the trade ideas that we have, anything like we've done now, we're sharing some chart ideas and all that sort of stuff. So it's also a very cool way to learn. I break down my analysis, which is a very cool feature as to what I'm thinking, why I'm thinking it, and how I perform the analysis. So everyone's on the same page. If I do then, let's say, release a trade alert via Telegram, then, you know, everyone's on the same page and understand exactly what it is I want to do. You can scroll down. We have a little trade entry recap management section where you can basically just know what stop orders or type of orders I'm using, whether they be limit orders, stop losses, whatever the case might be. Gives you an overview. We also have a watch list section of markets that I'm still looking at the moment that's just not ready, in my opinion, to take trades on. And then just a quick conclusion that we have as well. So that's pretty much what you get with the EPS forecast service. Like I said, I do a lot of work on this. I do this 5 days a week. I generally spend between 4 to 6 hours a day on these reports. So they're well-researched trade ideas when I do come up with new ones. And I also use my market geometry to not just get into trades, but also manage open positions the best we can, which works very, very well. All right, so that is quickly just a glimpse of what we have on the EPS forecast side of things for that gentleman. I believe there are a few others that also asked, and that's what it looks like. This is now obviously the front end that a member will see. Okay. All right, Nathan, I think that's it. I'm going to call it. We've been going on for about an hour now. Guys, so thanks so much for attending today's session. Again, go check out that toolbox if this is something that you want to use with either MetaTrader or NinjaTrader. Also keep in mind that educational stuff that I've included with that. Go check that link out. We've got a special running for today's session only. And as always, thanks very much for attending. Again, if you're new and you liked what you've seen today, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to slowly get into time analysis within the near future. Something that not many traders talk about, but I've got extremely cool stuff to show you guys there. So please subscribe. When we have a new video coming out, then you'll know about it in advance, so you don't miss anything in the future. And that's it for me today, guys. I hope it's almost the end of the week. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, tomorrow, and as well the weekend. I'll be back next week with another live session. Until next time, take care and stay safe out there. Goodbye.